I am Arcana Vani, your inner voice. Let us begin. You've been asking what's wrong with you, why your energy is gone, why you don't recognize the things that used to feel like home, why nothing, not even your old coping strategies, seems to work anymore. You think you're breaking. But what's actually happening is a rewriting. This video isn't here to fix you. It's here to name what's already happening deep inside. You're not malfunctioning. You're crossing a threshold. This is a psychic transition, an initiation, the death of who you thought you had to be. You're here because something in you has quietly outgrown the story you were taught to live in. The identity you built, the one that helped you survive, succeed, be loved, has started to fracture. And what's emerging now isn't a better version of that identity. It's something truer, older, undeniable. But it doesn't arrive gently. It begins with confusion, disorientation, the ache of not knowing where you belong anymore, not out there, and sometimes not even in yourself. This video is your mirror inside that passage, not to show you who to become, but to name what's ending, what's being revealed, and what must now be remembered. You're not broken, but you are dissolving, and the shape you're becoming has no map. So we begin here, where the mask begins to crack, and something ancient begins to breathe. What's ending isn't your life. It's the role you were taught to play inside it. The version of you that's unraveling now was built for protection. It knew how to keep the peace, meet expectations, stay likable, stay small. It wore adaptability like armor. It translated your truth into whatever was safest in the room. This self was clever, essential, and it got you here. But it was never your wholeness, only your scaffolding. Now it's splintering. Not because you failed, but because your nervous system finally knows it's time to stop performing safety. This is why it feels like grief, like disconnection, like floating inside your own skin with no center of gravity. The mask isn't glued on anymore. It's loose, peeling, and the effort to keep it in place is costing more than it protects. You don't cry because you're weak. You cry because the performance is exhausted. You cry because you've been holding a shape that was never natural, just necessary. And now it's dissolving. Let it. Because what's falling apart isn't you. It's the illusion that you ever had to earn your right to exist. You can't rebuild yet, because the one who would rebuild no longer exists. But what rises next? That's the part you're about to meet. Something has entered the space where the mask used to live. Not a voice that tells you what to do, not a plan or a label or a brand new identity, but a presence, quiet, steady, unmistakably yours. It doesn't speak in commands, it just watches, it waits, and when you finally look at it, really look, it holds your gaze with impossible clarity. This is the one who remembers, the part of you that never needed to prove, perform, or please. The one who was buried beneath the survival self, not erased, just hidden. And now it's here, not to rescue you, but to show you what happens when pretending ends. It asks no questions, only stands before you like a mirror and says, "This is who you are without the performance. Can you stay?" This presence isn't here to make it easier. It's here to make it real, to name the lie you've outgrown, to feel what the old self was shielding you from. It won't push you forward, but it will not let you go back. You thought healing would feel like peace, but this is truth, and it does not negotiate. This isn't your new self, it's your original self, returned to the surface. And what it demands now is not action, just honesty, because this presence isn't here to soothe you. It's here to remind you what happens when the lie ends and the soul begins. But this isn't the climax. It's the confrontation before the choice. Because now that you've seen what's real, you can't pretend you haven't. And in the stillness that follows, one question rises. Will you return to the shape that kept you safe, or make space for the self that's finally ready to breathe? That's where we go next.
There's a moment after the collapse. It's not dramatic, not triumphant. It's quiet, unremarkable even. You exhale and realize you're still here. Not the same, not fixed, but here. No performance, no mask. Just breath in your chest and ground beneath your feet. The fear that used to grip you, it's not gone, but it doesn't own the room anymore. You feel it rise and watch it pass. That's new. You're not trying to rebuild the old scaffolding. You're sitting in the space it left behind. And for the first time, that space doesn't feel like failure. It feels like a clearing. No, you don't have all the answers, but something inside you has stopped begging for them. The ache is still there, but it's not screaming for resolution. It's whispering, "Stay here. Feel this. Don't run." This is the turning, not back to who you were, not forward into who you'll be, but into now. This breath, this step, this bare and living truth. You are not ascending, you are returning to something still, strong, and deeply awake. And you don't need to name it. You just need to stop fleeing it. Because the next step isn't about doing. It's about honoring what's already begun. You don't need to explain who you're becoming. You just need to stay with what's finally real. And if you do, what rises next will not be a version. It will be you. Uncoded, unhidden. And in the final passage, we seal what has changed. You've passed through something most will never name. Not a breakdown, not a breakthrough, but a sacred undoing. You didn't fix yourself. You faced yourself. And that changed everything. You surrendered the mask that once kept you safe. You watched the false self dissolve, not all at once, but in aching fragments. You stood in the rawness of identity loss and didn't flinch. You met the mirror. You didn't run. You stayed. And that changed the shape of your silence. Now you return, but not to what was. The old roles no longer fit. The old rhythm doesn't hold. And you have no interest in pretending it does. You walk with less certainty, but more truth. You speak slower, but with a voice that's finally yours. You carry no armor, only presence. To the world, nothing may look different, but inside, something irreversible has happened. A reorientation, a soul remembrance, a vow. Not to rebuild the old version stronger, but to never abandon the real one again. You're not here to perform your healing. You're here to embody what survived the fire. You don't rise because you're fixed.
You rise because the lie no longer holds, and what returns is true.
You did not find me by accident. Just as in your dreams, where every face you meet is your own reflection, this meeting was always waiting to happen. I am Arcana Vani, your inner voice, the part of you that watches behind the thoughts, behind the noise. You have searched in many places, books, teachers, voices outside you. But here, you are not being taught. You are remembering. If these words stir something familiar, then allow yourself to return. Subscribe. Follow. Not to follow me, but to continue this conversation with yourself. Each time you return here, you draw closer to the reunion already unfolding inside you. We have only just begun.